We're going to continue with the rigging section in the textbook, lesson 13 on page 379. So after we've connected the twist and IK blend attributes of your IKs to the control objects, now we can hide and lock the IKs of the character. And the reason why we do this is so that we don't accidentally start animating with the IK and setting keyframes. Now, if we have the manipulator, the curve, set up already, it would be making a mistake to be keyframing two different objects to do the same thing. So this is just a part of setting up a character. You want to get in the habit of hiding and locking what you don't need to see. Also, later on we're going to be creating a character set, and we don't need to include the IK attributes in the character set since they are already connected to the hand manipulator and the foot manipulators. So let's get started with this. So I'm going to shift select those 4 IKs. The outliner would be the easiest at this point. And what I'm going to do is first turn off the visibility. So notice that I have 4 things selected. It has a dot 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 next to it. I'm going to punch in 0 next to visibility to turn it off, or you can type in OFF, and there we don't see it anymore. Now with everything selected, I'm just going to select all the attributes in my channel box. Right click, hold down, and lock and hide selected. I can always call back those IKs if I need it by selecting the hidden IK, and this could be applied to anything that you've hidden, and go to Window, General Editors, Channel Control, and here you can see that there are no keyable attributes there. And what I can do is, let's say I want to bring back the visibility and the translate nodes. Right? Now they're going to show up in your channel box, and you can right click, hold down, and say unlock selected. Since they were gray, right now they're all locked down, right? Because you've got to first bring them back into your channel box, then unlock them in order to do anything with them. Alright? So that would be the way to bring back those attributes that you've hidden. Alright, the next thing I want to do is to show the 3 selection handles of 3 joints that I want to select and animate with. And they are the pelvis, the left clavicle, and the right clavicle. So you can select those 3 joints using your hypergraph or your outliner. I think hypergraph is easier. Then I'm going to first show the selection handles. We've done this already before once, so I don't think it'll be too hard for you. So show the selection handles, which are components that are usually hidden. And I'm going to go into the components editor here, go into the mode of selection handles. Just going to go to the selection tool there and select those 3 things and move them. So you can move them anywhere you want. I'd like to move my pelvis slightly up, okay, and behind. And these shoulder clavicles, they seem very close together, so I'm going to just scale them apart like that, right, and move them slightly back in space. Okay. Now, selection handles have a higher selection hierarchy than geometry and other objects. So it is a nice way to select your joints without having to compete with the geometry or other items. Alright, so now I'm going to go back to object mode, and as you can see, because I want to display, transform, display selection handles, you can see the selection handles and they are moved out of the body. And this will create easy selection for the pelvis, the right clavicle and the left clavicle joints, which you'll be rotating. Alright, so the next section is going to be your eye setup. This is kind of fun. Now, the eye setup is going to be consisting of a control object like a circle. This time we're going to use a locator. So create locator. And what a locator is simply a big handle that just looks like a selection handle with one more line, and you can rig a variety of objects and attributes to it. There's really nothing more to locators. I'm going to snap that to my head joint by moving it with the V key pressed down. Alright, and then I'm going to move it out in front of the face. Maybe about 10 units here. Now, the book says 20 units, but it really depends on how your character is created. So right in front of the face with some space like this would be good. I'm going to name it, look at, and I'm going to freeze transform it, so it's zeros and ones, and I'm going to add an attribute to it. So, well, before I add the blink attribute, what I'm going to do is constrain it to my eyeball joint so that when I move this, the eye will move with it. So this locator will control everything I want with the eyes. I'm going to just hide my polygon NURB and NURB surfaces, and the order of selection is important here. So make sure you select the locator first and then shift select the eye. So I'm going to go into my animation menu set, go to my constraints menu, just expand that, and I'm going to do not an orient but an aim constraint, making sure that maintain offset is turned on. Okay, I've applied that, and now I'm going to take a look at the NURB surface here. Okay, and that seems to be working great. So let's do it to the other eye. Okay, so now my eyeballs are moving together with the locator. If you want one eye to have a control object and another eye to have another control object, you can do that, and that would allow you to have asymmetrical eye control. But for Romeo, we can just set it up with one object. Next, I'm going to add an attribute to this locator. And this attribute is going to be called blink. Right? And I'm going to set it to be a floating number. The minimum is going to be 0, the maximum is going to be 2, and the default is going to be 1. So 0 is going to be closed, 2 is going to be wide-eyed, and 1 is the default, how he normally has his eyes open. So this is going to require us to do a set-driven key with not just the eye lid, but the eyelid make NURB sphere input node, which is a construction history node, and using the start sweep and the end sweep of the attributes within the construction history node. So it's a little bit deeper embedded than any of the attributes of the regular geometry up here. So it's a little tricky getting that into the set-driven key box, but I'll show you how to do it. Alright. So animate, set-driven key, set. Let me just close that constraint window. Now the driver is going to be the locator look at, and the driving attribute is the blink that we just created. Okay, and I can do these two eyelids at the same time, so that's great. So I'm going to select the two eyelids, select the make nerve sphere input. Now if one of them is not showing up the input node, it means that you didn't duplicate it properly using the duplicate special options duplicate input graph. Alright, so what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to go back and reduplicate it using those settings out here. So I'm going to load the driven. It's going to be these two make nerve sphere nodes, and the attributes I'll be keying are the start sweep and the end sweep key. So look at blink 1, it's going to be at this position. So I keyed the very first position, and you'll see that the make nerve sphere start sweep and end sweep have turned red, which shows that it's keyed down. So let's do the other two keys. So look at blink 0, make nerve sphere 2 and 3, start sweep, end sweep is going to be 0 and 360 key. How do I know it? Well, I just select the attribute and do a middle mouse button on a panel to see where it would move to get the desired effect. Okay, so blink 2 is going to be big, like big eyes. Like I can barely see the eyelids. So let's see. I'll just smooth it so I can see that. Okay, he's shocked. Alright, so I'm going to key that. So now you can test your blink attribute. Okay, and I can also test my eye pupil motion.